Greetings, YouTube. Some of you may be familiar with the Deck of Many Things, which is a good and bad magic item that has been around since first edition. And I actually made a Deck of Many Things for my first edition game, where I actually took playing cards and made it out so that people could actually physically draw them. I think I may still have it kicking around somewhere because the deck that I took it from was long gone. I don't know where those cards went. If someone ever found that deck and tried to play a game with them, my apologies. But that inspired other people to do a similar thing. So I have something here from Dungeoneer. It says Dungeoneer at the top. Can you see the Dungeoneer? Yeah, there we go, Dungeoneer. And I do not have any idea what issue this was of the magazine. I really, really don't. I wish I did. No, there's a letter. There's a number there, but I can't see it. The whole number didn't get copied. Regardless, I'll have to do some research and see if I can figure out what issue of the Dungeoneer this was. I know I have a couple of copies, but this was something given to me by someone else. And this is back in the era before we had, the ability to send digital files to each other. This is way back in the 80s. And it's the Leprechaun Rosary. Now, I realize that places it both in Irish and Catholicism. But it'd be really easy to just scrape that serial number off the thing and call it, the Pixies beads or the Pixies pearl necklace or something like that. That alludes to something else too, which is quite funny. But it is a list of 100 potential random items that can happen when you have this thing on and you try to use it. Now, it doesn't specify how often you can use this rosary. I think I may have used this once, but you'd probably have to limit how often this thing could be used, because it could be both very dangerous to the enemy and very dangerous to the party and very dangerous to whatever plot line you are currently working on. So this may be something you want to reduce just like maybe using it once a day, something like that. Maybe when the full moon is out, you figure it out. But yeah, this is a very random list. So we're going to go ahead and read this just because why not? So I'm just going to go one item at a time. And it just says die roll, gives you the numbers, and it says effects. Everyone receives a magic book explaining how to kill a red dragon. Reading this will add a 5 to die rolls to score hits on red dragons, and adds 5 to saving throws versus any fire breath. A very fast flying tricycle, movement 48, with 1d100 seats appears for 1d20 turns. Remember, a turn was 10 minutes. So a giant tricycle shows up and you can whiz across the countryside in it, which is funny. A bed appears under each foe. I'd make those permanents for fun. Foes' weapons become flowers. A banquet for 1d100 appears on a table between friends and foes. 10,000 silver pennies rain down. Each penny is 1 silver piece. Now, if you're using traditional, D&D currency, that's 1,000 gold pieces. But I actually prefer a silver-based system. Well, so silver is the base coin. Gold takes the platinum slot. Bronze takes the silver spot, and copper remains where it is. So that's a lot of money if you use the silver. Foes get hiccups, 1 hiccup per 10 seconds until cured. I'd make that probably once a round, and I'd say it would interrupt spell casting, something like that. Everyone turns invisible. I would make that temporary. All friction vanishes for 1d6 turns. Everyone is in a state of ecstatic bliss for 1d6 turns. Foes swear fealty to friends and keep oath for 1d20 turns. Everything feels sticky for 1,000 turns. Oh, no, it's disgusting. I don't like sticky. A talking jack-o'-lantern appears. Now, I'd make the talking jack-o'-lantern permanent. I really would. And a nice side note, before the advent of carving pumpkins, the Irish would actually carve turnips and potatoes. That's kind of cool. Friends have X-ray vision for 1d20 turns. Everyone has microscopic vision for 1d20 turns. Foes lose hearing for 1d10 turns. All chaotic Chaotics become lawful for 1d4 turns. That's going to be some very twisted worldviews right there. Suddenly, you will have a very different worldview for up to 40 minutes. Air within 10 feet of each foe becomes breathable gelatin. That's weird. An image with sound of a rock music hair appears. It's a little like anachronistic, but okay. Humans are teleported home. So if the foes are human, suddenly they disappear. And you wouldn't necessarily know what happened because you're using this item. You don't know what it happens if you don't see it or experience it. So you would just suddenly see your enemy disappear. For 1d100 turns, the force of gravity is 1/4 normal. That's kind of cool. Foes lose sense of smell and taste for 1d12 turns. That could affect some aspects of what's going on, but not necessarily everything. Unless it's like your foe is using tracking or something, you know what I mean? Like they're good trackers by sense of smell. That could be an effect. Hot things become hotter, cold things become colder. It'd be hard to adjudicate. Uh, Armor moves out to float in the air, looking like an exploded diagram for 1d6 turns. Suddenly, you don't have armor. Foes' feet and hands turn into fish fins for 1d6 turns. The dungeon turns invisible for 1d6 turns. Now, a smart person would make note of everything that's around them. That way they can actually find what they're looking for. It also assumes that you're in a dungeon, because why wouldn't you be in a dungeon? You are, in fact, playing Dungeons and Dragons. Foes do Irish Jig for 1d10 turns. But isn't there a spell that does that? Dancing feet or something? I can't remember. I think Phil does that. Foe's vision is inverted. Up seems down and down seems up. Interesting fact that your eyes actually do that already, and you just flip that in your brain so you can see. Foes hear firecrackers exploding in all directions. That can be disorienting. I'm not a big fan of big noises. 2d6 items in all available packs exchange places. Oh, that would drive people absolutely out of their goddamn minds, me included. Everyone becomes telepath for 1d6 turns. That's kind of cool. A 2d100 car railroad train passes between friends and foe, then vanishes. Very large train. Foes exchange everything they hold in their hands with one another. All full foes' edibles vanish. I don't think that's that much of a game. In fact, most people might not even notice that happens. You might think that you got a dud on that one. Every inanimate object in sight becomes a wooden box. Wow, that could be very bad. Or I mean, you said that one's permanent or not. Everyone becomes friendly. Whee! Foes lose sense of touch for 1d10 turns. That's dangerous if you suddenly can't feel. Take it from someone who can't feel their feet. It's not fun. A swarm of bees appears around each foe. That's cool. A foe's blades twist into curlicues? I guess that's what that's supposed to say, curlicues. I don't think I've ever seen that word written like that, but curlicues. A drenching rain falls for 1d6 turns. That can be really dangerous if your foes are like fire elementals. Foes' senses blink like strobe lights. Boy, would that be disorienting. Foes are teleported at up to 1d6 feet, so they just go. Not going to harm them, but it's going to disorient them and definitely screw up their ability to attack for that round. Shamrocks shower down for 1d4 turns. That's a lot of shamrocks. Everything green becomes inappropriately enchanted. How do you adjudicate inappropriately enchanted? That's going to be a complex one. Each foe performs a chaotic act. All pictures become real for 1d10 turns. Depending on where you are, that could be very, very interesting and also dangerous. All trees in sight become Ents. Ooh, wow, that's going to be permanent. That's going to be a very weird thing. Suddenly, the trees become sapient all out of the blue. A real truck appears and chases anyone who moves. That's, I don't know if I would use that one. I might use a cart or something. Um, foes, dietants appear, perceptions reverse near, okay, distance. It's supposed to say distance, but it says D-I-E-T-A-N-C, so it's dietants. Distance perception reverses. Near seems far, far seems near. I can't believe they put that into a magazine and nobody caught that one. Foes' possessions except clothes and armor turn into books for 1d6 turns. What can you learn from those books? The image of 2d6 dragons appear. Foes' blunt weapons become soap. Sorry. Everyone becomes empathetic. Empathetic, rather. Friends henceforth age backwards. That could be very, very bad. If you're not a very old person, suddenly you're going to be doing very bad things. But if you're old, that could be kind of cool. But you will eventually become a child. And hopefully you can reverse that when you get young enough, because then you could relive your entire life. You get 3 times the life expectancy. That's kind of cool. Water within 10 feet of friends becomes Irish whiskey. Wow. Everybody carries a water skin. Wouldn't do me much good. I don't drink, but be a lot of happy people. All lawfuls become chaotic for 1d4 turns. Foes sneeze vigorously for 1d6 turns. That would disrupt all kinds of things in their ability to function. 1d100, beautiful ladies appear and dance with any males present for 1d6 turns. That's kind of sexist, but I guess you could just say 1d100 attractive people show up and dance with folks. Everyone smells something terrible. Air becomes as heavy as water for 1d6 turns. Wow, that would really slow you down. You'd be now using aquatic combat rules. So blunt weapons are going to be absolutely useless. Same thing with slashing. You're going to be one of using piercing weapons. The Coriolis effect becomes overwhelming. Things thrown, slide, fly, or otherwise in motion curve sharply to the west. Any creature with an inner ear becomes dizzy. Winds and currents are things in motion, so is light. The effect is permanent, but can only affect an area with 20 feet of the Rosary. So you do this, and then within 20 feet of that spot forever, the Coriolis effect. What was light going to the west look like? Oh, that's going to be weird. All available charged magic items discharge at random. That could be dangerous. Popcorn rains and until at least ankles deep or at least ankles or at most necks are covered. So like all the way up. Hope you're like in a place where that's not going to be become very vile and disgusting. Foes shrink to 1/10 normal size. There's no duration on that one. That would be interesting. Foes are teleported to Ireland. Now that would be disorienting and quite bad for the people in Ireland. I just do it. They get teleported to the Feylands. You're whisked off to the fairy realm. 1d100 lightning bolts strike, but no one is injured. That could scare the crap out of people, though. Foes acquire ability to tell convincing lies. Friends acquire. I don't think you need to acquire the ability to tell convincing lies. Humans are really good at lying. Everything turns green for 1d100 turns. Foes stop to add together the numbers from 1 to 100. All right, I don't know why you want to do that, but foes' armor and clothing vanishes. Ooh, a little it's scandalous. All evil animals vanish. The animals can't have alignments. So I would probably say all evil non-sapient creatures, because they're referencing, apparitions and things like that. But things like very low intelligence, or maybe just like 3s and 2s and things like that. Actually, if you have a 2, can you be evil? That's a moral quandary question. Foes see sound and hear sight for 1d 10 turns. All rocks in sight become dwarves. Those are some very disoriented dwarves. Suddenly they appear out of nowhere as adult dwarves with no memory. Maybe they can speak Dwarven. Now, it just says dwarves. It doesn't say they have any equipment, so they could be very naked dwarves. Just imagine you're in an area with a bunch of rocks, and suddenly there are naked dwarves everywhere. I like that. It's fun. Foes are teleported 100 feet in random directions, but not into solids. Well, that's nice. Foes laugh helplessly for 1d6 turns. I know there's a spell that does that one. Foes' missiles become cricket bat balls. Cricket balls are kind of hard, aren't they? That's an improvement, but I don't know if it's... I guess piercing becomes blunt damage, and it would be less, I guess. Everyone gets a mouthful of good Irish stew. Hope you're not vegetarian. This is a long one. Either for the next 2 turns, use the wrong dice for all rolls, or 1 bead explodes, and the next thing anyone playing says is interpreted as a wish. Judges option. Back when they called us judges. Using wrong dice can be tough, however. If the wrong dice option is it should be chosen. The following procedure is suggested. Whenever a dice roll is to be made, first roll a d8. If that roll is 1, then use d4 for the roll to be made. d2, 2 gives you a d6, 3 gives you a d8, 4 gives you a d10, 5 gives you a d12, 6 gives you a d20. If 7, then use d100, and if 8, then use 3d12. Note that this can lead to people trying to roll saving throws on d4 and then rolling to hit on 3d12. Yes, that would be chaos, but it could be also very interesting. The literal wish thing, it depends on the scene, I guess. What the next thing someone says, I would definitely take that with a grain of salt. Foes sit down for 1d6 turns. So they just flop on their butts and they don't get up. Let's go. Foes sing Irish songs for 1d10 turns. I hope they have good voices. 1d6 magic items vanish. Oh boy, is that going to piss people off. Foes are blinded. I'd make that so they could recover them, but they'd have to go to somewhere to recover them. Maybe actually have to go to the Feylands and find a place where these things all go. Some poor pixie or sprite is tasked with the job of cataloging and editing and storing them until someone comes to get them. Foes are blinded in one eye for 1d6 turns. Eye afflicted changes each turn. Oh, okay, so it affects backwards. Foes lose sense of balance for 1d10 turns. That could be very disorienting. Everyone hears Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. I guess that's... people could think they're having an auditory hallucination. Pardon me. 1d1000 rush mushrooms sprout. I like that one. Everyone does a good deed. That's going to be hard to adjudicate. Why do you define a good deed? Foe's skin itches, should be itches, intolerably for 1d6 turns. 1d100 air-filled toy balloons appear. If air-filled, it means you're just going to go boom, boom onto the ground. They're not going to float, but that's all right. 1d6 Irish Inland Revenue agents arrive. I would just say 1d6 tax collectors show up. Who they're collecting taxes for, that's interesting. What if they're all collecting taxes for different people? That could be a wonderfully comedic scene. Foes, threads, strings, and ropes become taffy. Yee. Again, don't like sticky. Friends have infravision for 1d20 turns. Anyone remember infravision? It was long before we had dark vision. There was infravision and there was ultravision. And that kind of was both in first edition AD&D, but it was also in the early editions of Gamma World. So you could see infrared energy, which was much more complex and easily abused than dark vision. I much prefer low light vision and dark vision. Those are two much superior versions of this than infravision and ultravision, and I've still never been able to figure out how ultravision let you see in the Underdark. I really don't, because it means you need an ultraviolet source of energy to see with. There has to be ultraviolet light for you to see the ultraviolet light. So I'm not sure how that works. Dark vision at least solves that problem. Foes are terrified for 1d6 turns. That's kind of cool. Foes' motions reverse for 1d6 turns. That could be disorienting. Everyone's clothes and armor becomes wool pajamas. Wow, there are going to be a lot of people who are very unhappy if they have expensive clothing or armor. All evil things vanish. Wow, that's powerful. Evil creatures, not characters, become permanently good. That could be interesting. You got a bunch of aberrations, like abominations, like you're fighting, and all of a sudden they stop becoming evil, and they're like, what the hell's going on? Lots of role-playing opportunities there. Friends' magic items triple in effect for 1d10 turns. Roll twice more. Roll 2 more effects. So you get that one, you get 2 effects instead of 1. 99 is St. Patrick appears. He has the powers of a 1000th level cleric and those of a saint. It's just some kind of avatar, or there's numerous divine beings that you could pick on that one. In my book, if this is going to be Fae related, and leprechauns are in the whole Fae sphere, that should be a chaotic being. And lastly, number 100. 1d10 leprechauns appear, each with a leprechaun rosary of their own. There is a 25% chance they will use them to cast magic at everyone, 25% chance they will cast it at the original caster's friends, and 25% chance they will cast it on his foes. A little sexist there. If not casting magic by rosary, they will take advantage of the undoubted chaos to try to steal everything. 10% chance for each item. So I guess the leprechauns are being portrayed as a distinct force of chaos. So this has been the effects of the Leprechaun Rosary from Dungeon Magazine, or the Dungeoneer Magazine. And I don't know which issue. I'm going to have to do a little research on that one, I guess. See if I can figure that out. Because that would be nice to know, I think. So, have you ever used this? Have you ever heard of this? This is old school, and it's an obscure old school. Not everybody probably even aware that there was such a thing as the Dungeoneer magazine. So tell me, was this on your gaming radar at all? I want to hear.